Kemba Walker in the late 2010s was regarded as one of the better and more consistent players in the league. He would regularly play 80 or more games in a season. In the earlier parts of his career, he managed to stay pretty healthy as he showcased his ability and his very impressive shooting skills. Not to mention, he had a very successful collegiate career as well, winning his team a national championship, as well as being named the best point guard in the nation during his college span. But sadly, he had a sudden drop-off. You may be wondering, what happened to a player that from his high point of making multiple All-NBA teams, winning a national title, and becoming a consistent All-Star, and how did he take such a quick descent into only averaging less than 10 points in the league, and even today he's not even in the NBA? Well, lucky for you guys clicked on the right video. Today we'll be looking at the rise and fall of Kemba Walker, but before we do so, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. There's plenty of content across all 4 major sports that I'm sure you guys will enjoy, so make sure to check it out, and let's get on to this video. On May 8th, 1990, Kemba Walker was born and raised in Bronx, New York. He always loved basketball growing up, and he decided to attend Rice High School in Harlem, New York City, very close to where he grew up. Kemba Walker had a very successful high school career. Kemba Walker was quickly featured into the spotlight, as during his high school career he went off against Derrick Rose's Simeon High School at Madison Square Garden. Kemba's high school team would defeat Derrick Rose's team 53-51 in his junior year. The remainder of his high school career was very successful as well. As a senior, he averaged 18 points and 5 assists per game, and these statistics were enough to give him the privilege of being on the McDonald's All-American team. Coming out of high school, he was a 5-star recruit. He was ranked number 5 in his position, number 14 overall. So very high praise and expectations were set upon Kemba Walker, but with his talents, he decided to commit to UConn for his college career. His college career was off to a good start. Even though he wasn't a starter, he played in every single contest, averaging 9 points per game, 3.5 rebounds per game, and 3 assists per game. With these numbers, Kemba Walker earned a Big East All-Rookie Team selection. In addition to Kemba Walker, the Huskies as a team played amazing as they earned themselves a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. Kemba experienced his first career-defining moment as he dropped an important 23 points in an Elite 8 matchup against Missouri, but the Huskies were defeated in the next round in the Final Four. Entering his sophomore season, Kemba Walker heavily improved as now he was a starter of the Huskies and he averaged 15 points per game, 5 assists, and 4 rebounds. While Kemba Walker heavily improved, UConn as a team did not, as they failed to be seeded in the NCAA tournament and they only made it to the National Invitation tournament. The Huskies finished with a very disappointing season, however Kemba Walker did not. And it was his junior year where things really started to shine for this future star. Kemba Walker took a huge leap as he was the leading scorer in the entire nation, averaging 26.7 points per game along with 5 rebounds and 3.8 assists per game. Really impressive averages. The Huskies as a team once again finished very highly, earning high seeding in the Big East and more importantly the NCAA tournament. And as this was happening, Kemba Walker had what arguably is his biggest moment in his entire basketball career. In the Big East tournament, UConn was against Pittsburgh, and in the final seconds, Kemba Walker hit a clutch game winner to advance on in the Big East tournament. A massive moment for his basketball career. Cardiac Kemba was born. Following this, they would go on to win the Big East tournament, and Kemba Walker was awarded as the MVP of the Big East tournament, a huge accomplishment in a stacked conference. And with the success in the Big East tournament as well as the regular season, they earned the 3 seed in the NCAA tournament. Kemba Walker also earned the honor of being first team All-American, and he earned the Bob Cousy Award for being college basketball's top point guard in the nation. And unlike 2 years ago, the UConn Huskies in the NCAA tournament with a star-studded performance from Kemba Walker managed to win the NCAA tournament this time, with Kemba Walker earning the award of the most outstanding player in the tournament. An absolutely huge year in terms of accomplishment for Kemba Walker, and because of this, he declared for the 2011 NBA draft. His NBA career was officially starting. In the 2011 NBA draft, Kemba Walker was selected 9th overall by the Charlotte Bobcats. He was originally a bench player during the 2011-12 season, averaging 12 points per game, 4 assists, and 3.5 rebounds, but due to starting point guard DJ Augustine's injury, Kemba Walker would be gaining some valuable starting reps for the remainder of that lockout-shortened season. He had some valuable time to prove his importance to the team, and in this time, he achieved his first triple-double in his NBA career against the Washington Wizards on January 28, 2012, where he recorded 20 points, 11 assists, and 10 rebounds, joining a short list of only 3 Bobcats to record a triple-double. Despite Kemba Walker's improvement, the Charlotte Bobcats were the worst in the league, finishing with a horrible 7-59 record. However, during his sophomore season, the 2012-13 season, Kemba Walker did earn himself the starting role as he started an extremely impressive all 82 games in the NBA season. In a league plagued with injury, that is extremely hard to come by. With these significant strides, he averaged 17.7 points per game, 5.8 assists per game, and 3.5 rebounds per game. He also managed to have his best game of his career so far, scoring 35 points against the Houston Rockets on January 21st. The Bobcats' record would improve to 21-61, but still a very terrible record nonetheless. Kemba Walker kept up nearly the same averages for his junior season in the 2013-14 season. He continued his good start by averaging the same exact points from the previous season of 17.7, with averaging a slightly higher assist and rebound total, while starting a once again impressive 73 games. But this was the first season in Kemba Walker's career where the team around him was actually doing extremely well, as the Bobcats actually made the playoffs with a 43-39 record. This was largely due to the fact that Kemba Walker wasn't actually the best player on the team. That would go to Al Jefferson, who averaged 22 points per game, 11 rebounds per game, and 2 assists. With the great production from these top 2 players on the team, that lethal duo actually put them in the playoffs against the Miami Heat for a first-round matchup. Sadly, Kemba Walker's first playoff experience did end up in a sweep as Miami won the series in 4 games. But Kemba Walker had valuable playoff experience and reps during the series, and he proved his value by dropping 29 points in Game 4, which was a franchise playoff high. Kemba Walker would take this extra experience into the next season. In the 2014-15 season, this was the first season that the Charlotte Bobcats were renamed to the Charlotte Hornets. And right off the bat, Kemba Walker had a legacy game in his career on the opener of that season. Against Milwaukee, the Hornets were down 24 points by the 4th quarter when they staged a large comeback. Kemba Walker scoring a tying 3-pointer with 1.6 seconds left to force overtime, and then later in overtime, he had the game-winning shot that clinched the game, finishing that game with 26 points, 5 assists, and 6 rebounds. Literally the following day, Kemba Walker signed a 4-year, $48 million contract extension with the Hornets, so it was clear that the Hornets saw this performance and they thought, yes, this is our guy for the future. Kemba Walker would continue setting new career highs, including a 42-point game during the season, and he would continue hitting plenty of clutch game winners, as that was his specialty. However, from a statistics standpoint, Kemba Walker actually degraded a bit, as he averaged less points, rebounds, and assists than his previous season, largely in part to a nagging knee injury that he needed taken care of. And in January of that season, Walker was ruled out for 6 weeks after he underwent a successful surgery to repair that torn lateral meniscus in his left knee. He would return in some of the final games of the season, but he would be coming off the bench, obviously because they don't want to rework him after that knee injury. This injury was a large part of why the Hornets didn't make the playoffs this year, as they finished with a 33-49 record. But keep that knee injury in mind. It has much larger and worse implications in the future for Kemba Walker. However, the following season of the 2015-16 NBA season was a breakthrough season for Kemba Walker. On January, he scored a career high and a franchise record of 52 points against the Utah Jazz. This season, Walker also became one of only 3 Hornets players to make 500 career three-pointers, joining Del Curry and Glenn Rice. And Kemba Walker finally was averaging more than 20 points per game, as he averaged 21 points per game, 5 assists, and 4.5 rebounds per game. This also was the first season that he was the clear-cut best player on the Hornets. With his near all-star level play, the Hornets finished with a 48-34 record and were once again in a first-round matchup against the Miami Heat. And boy, was it a battle. The series went to 7 games, both teams balling out, including Kemba Walker, who scored a playoff career-high 34 points in Game 4, 37 points in Game 6. However, with all this effort, the Hornets would end up sadly losing in Game 7 to the Miami Heat. A very valiant effort from Kemba Walker, and you can see that the playoffs were absolutely no problem for him to continue his clutch performances. However, once again, we do circle back to those knee problems, as in May 2016, Kemba Walker once again underwent surgery to repair the torn meniscus in his left knee. And once again, that would lead to later problems, as I mentioned earlier. Now, the 2016-17 season for Kemba Walker was a huge moment for him, a huge milestone as well, as he achieved his first All-Star selection. Kemba Walker had the impressive averages of 23 points per game, 5 assists, and 4 rebounds per game. He also would already be the Hornets' second all-time leading scorer, only behind Del Curry to this point. Despite the personal improvement of Kemba Walker, the Hornets themselves actually degraded as they finished with a 36-46 record, and that is because of co-star Al Jefferson leaving to go to the Pacers. Kemba Walker was pretty much just a one-man show at this time with very little help on the team. However, once again, left knee troubles continue to arise, as in May 2017, Walker underwent an arthroscopic procedure on his left knee. So still, you can see that this injury just continues to be nagging, and as his age increases, the chances that this could be more severe just continue to increase. However, it was time for the next season. The 2017-18 season came around, and Kemba Walker continued to be an All-Star. He was once again selected to an All-Star, which is his second straight All-Star appearance, as he averaged slightly less, 22 points per game, 5 assists, and 3 rebounds per game. A little bit less than the averages, but he played at a very similar level, and it was hard to notice if there was any decline. He also managed to pass Del Curry for being the Hornets' all-time leading scorer this season, an absolutely massive accomplishment. And it's funny to look at these two past seasons and realize how identical they were. Kemba Walker, an all-star in both, similar averages in both, and the Hornets finished with the same exact record of 36-46 in both seasons. So obviously they didn't make the playoffs this season either. Now, the 2018-19 season was a very important season for Kemba Walker, the most important season of his career, and it's here that we actually reach the peak of Kemba Walker. The 2018-19 season with the Hornets was his final season with the team, but it was his best season in his entire NBA career. He eclipsed the 10,000 career point mark in this season. He had a plethora of 40-point games, including a 41-point game on the opener against the Milwaukee Bucks, which set the franchise record for most points in the season opener. It's funny how Kemba Walker always has these amazing games against the Milwaukee Bucks. And he had the extremely impressive averages of 25.6 points per game, 6 assists, and 4.5 rebounds per game. Clearly, he would be selected to his third All-Star appearance in a row, and he would actually be an All-Star starter. On November 17th of the season, Kemba Walker scored a whopping 60 points, his career high and a franchise record for points scored in a game. He was also a flamethrower this season, becoming only the 9th NBA player to make 250 or more three-pointers in a season. Absolutely elite company there. And with all of this in mind, Kemba Walker earned his first All-NBA selection as he was selected to the All-NBA third team. A mammoth milestone for his career. However, once again, he had little help around him. Despite the amazing effort that he displayed this season, the Hornets only finished with a 39-43 record, once again missing the playoffs. Clearly, with all of this effort, but little postseason success to support it, it was clearly time for Hornets and Kemba Walker to part ways. And that is exactly what happened during this offseason. Kemba Walker showed mutual interest with another team, the Boston Celtics, at the start of free agency, and he officially joined them on July 6th in a sign-and-trade deal worth $141 million over 4 years. Obviously, the Celtics needed a point guard after Kyrie's departure, and Kemba Walker would fit that spot. After an extremely underwhelming season opener and Celtics debut against the 76ers, where he put up 12 points on 18 shot attempts, Walker would start to find his groove and have solid averages with the Celtics this year. His averages did dip down 5 points to 20 points per game, and he lowered his rebound and assist averages, but that's what's to be expected when you join a complete new team, change your surroundings, new coaching, everything. He hopefully would find his way with the team and start to get back up to those averages. He still was an All-Star, as he was selected to his first All-Star selection with the Celtics and his fourth All-Star selection in a row, and he started every single game of the season. Another interesting stat I found is that Kemba Walker actually this season defeated LeBron James for the first time in his career after going a whopping 0-28 against LeBron previously. It's honestly wild to think that you go against a player 28 times and not a single one of those matches ends up in a win, but Kemba Walker finally did accomplish that blockade against LeBron. The major difference between Kemba Walker this year and previous seasons is that he actually had help around this team. So much help, in fact, that for the first time since 2014, Kemba Walker was actually not the best player on his team. That would go to Jason Tatum, who one-ups Kemba Walker's averages in every category besides assists. And you could argue Kemba Walker might have not even been the second best player on the team behind Jaylen Brown, but I think their production was pretty even between the both of them this season. Now everybody knows the COVID-19 pandemic did happen this season, so Kemba Walker's first season with the Celtics actually was the bubble as well, but the Celtics would continue their success through the bubble, earning the number 3 seed in the playoffs, as they finished with an impressive 48-24 record. Kemba Walker has never even experienced a record close to this in his NBA career, let alone being placed at the number 3 seed. With this record and very valuable team next to Kemba Walker, he actually had some playoff victories, as in round 1 of the playoffs, the Celtics completed a quick sweep of the Philadelphia 76ers, and in the conference semifinals, the Celtics had a battle in 7 games with the Toronto Raptors, but they once again won that series, advancing to the Eastern Conference Finals against Miami. Kemba Walker finally has some valuable playoff experience under his belt, and he's starting to experience more of a big stage on the NBA's level. However, the 2020 Celtics road would end here as they lost in 6 games to the Miami Heat, but definitely a season to build off of, and Kemba Walker experienced much more playoff time than any other season combined. However, you think back to his left knee problems. Kemba Walker missed multiple games this season due to knee soreness, and he actually had to receive stem cell injections in his left knee in October, and was placed on a 12-week strengthening program, which sidelined him for the start of the 2020-21 NBA season. Due to this, Kemba Walker had a late season start, as he made his season debut all the way in January. His averages also decreased a bit, and he was no longer an all-star. He averaged 19 points per game, 5 assists a game, and 4 rebounds a game, but apparently he was not at an all-star level anymore. He was dealing with his nagging knee injury the entire season, and that clearly affected his play, as he even looked worse on the court. The Celtics squeaked into the 2021 playoffs as they finished with an extremely mediocre 36-36 record, beating Washington in the play-in to even get to the playoffs. And with this said, they are paired up against the Brooklyn Nets for a first-round matchup where they lost in 5 games, but Kemba Walker wasn't even able to service himself for games 4 and 5 as he had to miss both due to a bone bruise in his left knee. So once again, the left knee is absolutely demolishing his career and his future as a basketball player. And as quickly as his stint with the Celtics was, that would mark the end of his career with the Boston Celtics. That offseason, he was traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder in exchange for Moses Brown, 2 second-round picks, and the Celtics do once again meet up with veteran center Al Horford. But even then, Kemba Walker didn't even play a game for the Thunder, as he would later sign with his hometown team, New York Knicks. Kemba Walker was reunited to the team that was local to him where he grew up, so it was a nice homecoming for him. That being said, we can clearly see the steep decline that his career has been taking, so obviously his averages with the Knicks would not be nearly as impressive as his time with the Hornets or even the Celtics, as he only averaged 11.6 points per game with the Knicks, including playing only 37 games. He was a starter, but injuries caused him to miss a lot of that season. It is nice to see, though, that he did have one very impressive performance with the Knicks, as he scored 44 points on December 23rd against the Washington Wizards, so it was nice to see that there were some sparks that he still had, kind of reminiscing his prime days. But in January of that season, Kemba Walker faced a variety of knee problems, and the Knicks and Kemba Walker mutually agreed that it'd be best for him to be sidelined the remainder of the season, ending his short career with the New York Knicks. But sadly, that is what happens when you have a very injury-riddled player. In that offseason, Kemba Walker and the draft rights to Jalen Duren were traded to the Detroit Pistons in exchange for a first-round pick, and on October 17th, he reached a contract buyout agreement with the Pistons, but he wouldn't even play a game for the Pistons. On November 28th, 2022, Kemba Walker signed a 1-year non-guaranteed deal with the Dallas Mavericks. He only played 9 games in the season and only started one of those games, averaging only 8 points, 2 assists, and 2 rebounds per game. So clearly this is the end of his NBA career, but at least he had one dominant performance on the Mavericks, kind of showing sparks of old days, as he had 32 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists against the Cleveland Cavaliers. But shortly after, he was waived by the Mavericks. And as of very recently, Kemba Walker, on July 21st, 2023, signed a deal with a EuroLeague club, AS Monaco, moving outside the United States for the first time. He was now an overseas player, and he has yet to play a game for this team. But as you can see, it was truly the injuries, most specifically his left knee injury, that is responsible for this once amazing player turning into this player who is now forced to play overseas. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys did enjoy. As always, if you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps out a lot. Let me know any other Rise and Fall videos you guys want to see me make. Comment down below what you guys thought about this video. Any thoughts on Kemba Walker. I love responding to you guys in the comments and interacting with the community. You guys are the best, and I will see you guys in the next Heaps video.